Yeah.
And we are back.
We are back. Before we move along to 2006, I forgot to mention two runners-ups last time. First, in 2002, we have Monster with, how do you pronounce her? Charlize
I say Theron. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and Christina Ricci, which is a movie about another hard to pronounce name, Aileen Wuornos, the serial killer, which is the ultimate tearjerker of this decade. The O's.
I love you just the aughts. I love that you can just say that about a movie about a serial killer.
That's the thing.
Just to be clear, I have not seen this movie, but I have heard very great things about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I saw it, I wasn't expecting. I don't know if I was. I wasn't expecting a tearjerker movie or really a serial killer movie either, because I didn't know who it was going to be about.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw it, I was like, okay. Because first we get the first shock with when she actually starts killing people, and then the second shock when you really feel for her and it becomes really sentimental.
Yeah.
So I didn't kind of know what to feel, but after seeing it a couple of times, it's a really good movie. It's definitely a runners-up. And second, without saying so much about it, 2005, Roman Polanski's Oliver Twist. Which is the best Oliver Twist movie. A lot better than that crap from '68 with the kid that I really hate, Oliver! Exclamation points.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an Oliver Twist movie. I saw like 30 minutes of the TV series with Daniel Radcliffe.
As the Dodger.
Yeah. Besides that, I have not. I don't think I've ever seen Oliver Twist, unless you count Oliver and Company, which I really hope we don't.
No, we don't really. But if you're gonna see one, I would suggest seeing the most recent.
We've already established that Roman Polanski has our respect, at least in some ways. So
in some private life matters, maybe not so much, but
and even then, I can't really blame him because he did.
His wife got killed.
Yeah. He went through some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
So
and his childhood too. Which I think that's one reason. If we're gonna say one last thing about Oliver Twist. In the same way as The Pianist, he could make a very good adaptation because it was his life in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's the same here because his childhood in the ghetto was kind of similar.
Kind of the same
street urban kind of boy.
Yeah.
So I think that does a lot for.
It's a similar environment. So.
Yeah. Once again, compared to the musical from '68, it's very campy. It's very tra-la-la-la-la, when it's supposed to be a lot more.
A director's understanding of an environment clearly can help make a movie, even if it is, especially in a case where it's a classic story like Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist.
The
fact that the director actually has a knowledge of the world that other directors might not have, of course, really, really helps.
Yeah. Those are my... I'm just gonna check if we're recording this because I get paranoid.
Yeah?
1 minute. Let's see. Yes, we are in fact recording. Okay, 2006. Hit me.
Yeah, 2006. Okay, let's see here. What was it? Oh yeah. Here I have, this was a pretty good year, at least when it comes to the Oscar nominees. This was the year The Queen came out, The Departed came out.
Last King of Scotland.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also
keep going.
The Academy Awards ceremony, where this is probably the most memorable moment from maybe not any Academy Award ever, but one of the most memorable moments was when Leonardo DiCaprio was going to introduce Al Gore. Because he was nominated.
You told me this.
Yeah, and he burst into tears and he's such an amazing man. Like he's the Jesus of our time.
You just know that he's thinking of that one sad thing that makes him cry.
Either that or he's really such an airhead.
Yeah, I would hope not. But then again, I actually do subscribe to Leonardo DiCaprio on Twitter, and a lot of the stuff he doesn't really write his thoughts ever. He just posts like retweets stuff that other people, and it's always this kind of political bullshit stuff. So yeah, it could very well be that he is that kind of guy.
Yeah,
and ironically, that ties perfectly into this. Can I just jump right back in?
Yeah.
Because my movie pick for this year is Pan's Labyrinth. But before I talk about Pan's Labyrinth, my two runners-up are Children of Men with Clive Owen and Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
And Blood Diamond, starring Jimon Honsu and Leonardo DiCaprio, in a film that's trying to teach us about diamond smuggling.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to think about Blood Diamond.
I really like Blood Diamond, but it's so pompous in some ways. It's so full of itself.
I didn't even notice the pompousness. I think I only noticed. I wouldn't say I was bored, but I thought it was a very forgettable movie.
My biggest problem with it is probably the fact that it kind of feels like towards the end of that film, and again, we're not supposed to be talking about this movie very in depth, but the problem with Blood Diamond is that in the third act it becomes a straight up Hollywood action movie. Like it tries to show the realism of the horrors of Africa, and tries to really point out that a lot of people feel, I know a lot of people that feel like Africa is not our problem or our fault anymore, that we've gotten past that.
Yeah,
but it's not really. The film does try to convey, and I know that you're sitting here like almost like hurting over me saying this, but we're still fucking up Africa pretty badly.
Yeah, I could agree
the
with
film
that.
tries to show that, but in the third act it becomes an action movie. And even though it's a pretty good action sequence, it really hurts the film that has, up to that point, tried to be realistic.
Yeah.
And convey civil war and all this other bullshit. That's what we're going to say about that movie. But it was just fun, because we were talking about Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, without being too critical of Blood Diamond. From Blood Diamond to a good movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like a movie I don't think anyone should be able to say is not a good movie. And that's Pan's Labyrinth.
Well, actually, I was... the first time, I didn't like it once again because I was prepared for something completely different. But we'll get into it.
I think Pan's Labyrinth might have been the first movie I ever went to the movies by myself to see.
Yeah.
I was trying to get my friend to go see Blood Diamond with me. I don't remember if he went to see it. These two movies came out at the same time. Yeah. I think he went with me to Blood Diamond, but I wanted to go to Pan's Labyrinth instead, and he did not want to do that because it was a Spanish language film, which is ironic because he's Spanish himself. But I managed to. Then I went to Pan's Labyrinth by myself, and that really helped the atmosphere of that film.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in that movie, like for those who don't know, it's a movie about a Spanish Civil War era, about this little girl whose mother is going to get remarried to this general who is basically one of those evil as fuck generals, like sadistic bastards.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out if it's just pure evil, Disney villain evil, or if it's just so. Because he's obviously coming from a very conservative, pompous environment. So once again, is he pure
just
evil?
Indoctrinated, like war person, or
because he's behaving like a total fucking asshole throughout the movie.
I always go as far as to say he's a fucking monster.
Yeah, exactly.
He's terrible. Like whenever he does anything, wherever he ends up in a situation where there is anything that displeases him, he's going to do the worst thing that he can possibly do.
Yeah, but the thing about him is that. Compared to other pure villains, he's not finding any joy in doing these things.
No.
He's not like mwahaha. He's just cold. He's completely cold.
That's why he feels like a brainwashed monster that does what he deems like his duty makes him do.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this girl has a very lively imagination, and that's the core of the story. She's as soon as they're driving out to a country home where they're going to live and fight the rebels that live out in the forest, and she is talking about fairies and all these fantasy creatures, and it's pretty sure you realize from the get-go that her fantasies don't fit in this world that they've just landed themselves in with the evil stepfather and her pregnant mother, who you also can tell almost from the start is very weak and not really well.
One of the worst mothers.
Yeah, she's weak both physically and mentally. Like you can tell right from the start that wow, she doesn't really know what to say or do. She's marrying this guy basically because she's having his baby, and at the same time she starts getting weaker during the film physically. And you wonder if something would happen to the mother, what's going to happen to our main character, Ophelia?
Yeah, you might argue that she's trying to be strong in the way that she's marrying the captain for financial and stability for the daughter, but she should.
It's still awful the way she treats the daughter and the way she succumbs to every situation. We don't really want to spoil the plot too much, but the thing is, Ophelia gets dragged into this. She gets dragged. She follows a pixie or something into a labyrinth one night and meets the magical creature Pan, who gives her a couple of quests she must complete in order to. She basically gets told by Pan that she is a princess of a fairy tale king, and that to get back to the kingdom she has to complete a series of tasks. And that's the rest of the movie. You see the daughter doing these quests, and juxtaposed with that, you see the rebellion going on around the house.
Yeah, that was so interesting about it because once again, I was kind of not disappointed but confused the first time I saw it because when I watched the Academy Awards and saw they got nominated for all the visual awards, and then I saw the poster, so I thought it was going to be like a Spanish language version of Alice in Wonderland.
That was what I was going to say, a Tim Burton-esque kind of thing, because the poster kind of has an Edward and Scissorhands.
Yeah, it's obviously it's obviously very inspired by those posters. But the thing is that it's very little fantasy. I mean, her fantasy parts, her missions, which may or may not be all in her head.
Exactly.
You never know if it's real or not, really. But the core of the movie still was the realism, the social realism of the Spanish Civil War. That's what took up most of the movie.
Exactly.
And I think that's a real smart move because marketing it as a pure fantasy movie, that was going to be the center of it. That since the story about her escaping into a fantasy world from the grimness of the real world, kind of what made the audience do too.
Yeah.
Let's go see a fairy tale adventure, and they go in and they see pure dark reality. It's a very good move.
But that movie must have had. That movie must have at least 11, hopefully 15, as an age rating when it came out.
Yeah, I think it was 11. Yeah, it's really brutal.
Yeah, because I remember, just go back to one of my other picks, Spirited Away.
Yeah.
When we were going to go see that, the I think it was a grandma with her grandkids in front of us in the line. Mm-hmm. This is before internet booking and all that stuff. And the cashier straight up said, "This movie is not for these kids. These kids are too small. This movie's fucking scary." And just thinking about Pan's Labyrinth, a movie that it's a trap for people if they don't want to see something dark.
Yeah, once again, many people are idiots.
Yeah.
And they think fantasy for kids. Animated
cartoons
for kids.
Yeah, animation is automatically for children.
What's it called? The animation age ghetto.
Yeah.
And the fantasy ghetto.
And I believe I can speak most clearly of anyone for this over this year, since oh my god, the amount of flack I've gotten for having Tangled as my one of my all-time favorite movies. But
haven't we reached the point when we can say okay, the medium has expanded beyond that?
Yes, but
we
only
should have reached
people our
that point.
age know that. That's only people our age have it's of course people are
our age, maybe 10 years. Over
exactly.
Us.
So exactly. Our age plus minus 10 years. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, Generation Y as a whole.
Exactly.
If we go further beyond that, then we come to Generation X, which are a bunch of idiots. Sorry. Let's get back to it.
Okay. I think, just to say, Pan's Labyrinth is a very unique movie, and it's still the best movie Guillermo del Toro has made. I have not seen The Orphanage, but he produced that, so I'm not even going to count it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad he did not get to make The Hobbit, just because I think he should try and not remake, but try and recapture. I mean, that can always be a failure as well, but rather than make more Hellboy movies and stuff, I think he should try and make something a little bit closer to home with Spanish language and a little more contained budget, if anything.
Yeah, I'm still confused by your Spanish language speaking friend not wanting to see.
I don't know. Maybe it was just because he thought the movie was too weird too.
What kind of? It's gonna be European and all snobbish.
I don't know, but I went to see the movie by myself, and I I sat there and I had all the array of emotion you can have in a film.
Yeah.
I was laughing because there are some moments that are actually pretty.
Not that.
But there are some lighthearted scenes, at least at the start of it.
And also we have to mention the characters, because especially 3 characters.
Yeah.
The captain, the doctor, and Mercedes.
Yeah.
Who's she's a maid.
She's a maid slash nanny. She is like the housekeeper.
Yeah. And when the movie was over, I found myself thinking, especially in the case of Mercedes and maybe the doctor too, I want to see more of these people.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a very, very good sign that even if characters are great, when the movie's over, you're usually content. You think that, it wrapped up nicely. But in this case, I want to see more. What happens to Mercedes? How is she?
What happens to the surviving characters? What happens to everyone? Because the Civil War. Let's put it like this: this movie does not end with the Civil War being over. No, there isn't.
No,
it's a grand fight.
It's basically a battle being over.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to say, before we move on,
yeah,
the one thing, if I would give this movie a rating, it would be 4 out of 5. Or if I was on the Roger Ebert scale, which is like 4 stars. 3.5 stars. And the thing stops me from giving the last half star is the final scene. The very final scene before the credits. No, I'm not going to say it. But pretty much...
You like that one?
No, I hate it. Because it's something that's trying to comfort the audience. Because I put it like this. This movie does have a very grim tone in the end. Because this is actually, of course, a war. And there is a scene at the very, 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 very end, which is sort of the last fantasy scene. And that scene, I hate it, because I hate when a movie tries to hold my hand and comfort me.
But I think, if I may interrupt there, I think the audience, every single audience member, chooses whether or not it's a comforting end.
Yeah,
so
I know. But
it's up to interpretation.
It's the same thing as maybe I'm just a cold-hearted bastard, because I'm that guy who wishes that Toy Story 3 had ended in the furnace. I'm that guy. I thought that movie would have been fucking perfect if that ended with
that ending was, oh my god, the whole sequence of Annie playing, I fucking hated it.
Let's get to your pick.
Yeah, let's get to my pick. I fucking hated that ending. The rest of the movie great though. Anyway, I picked Little Miss Sunshine for my... I think my main motivation for finally deciding to choose Little Miss Sunshine is probably because, to me, this sums up maybe not the 2006, but the whole mid-Bush era.
Yeah.
The very polarized, and I thought about that. In the last year, 05, you picked Crash and I picked Thank You for Smoking, which are both very political satire. This is not outright a political film, but it still has that sort of one of the main cores of films is the polarization between the classical conservative and the classical liberal.
I was just going to say, the array of characters in this movie that all sort of fill their roles really perfectly. That's of course, the heart of this movie are the characters, since they are on a road trip, basically.
Yeah.
That's why you just get to see these people and you really understand almost from the get-go, because everyone has to know at least one of these characters.
Yeah. But I think the reason why these characters seem so familiar is because, especially Frank, who is the uncle, played by Steve Carell,
in one of his one of his most subtle roles ever.
Yeah, please, Steve Carell, stop doing comedies.
Actually, Crazy Stupid Love that came out this year is actually pretty good, because he does actually have more of the Little Miss Sunshine-esque characteristics in that film.
It's the same with Jim Carrey too. He should stop trying to be so funny and realize that he's a good actor. But also, the father, whose name I seem to have
he's
forgotten.
played by Greg Kinnear.
Yeah.
God, I hate him.
He's
supposed to hate the father,
he's designed to be. He's very well made into this. Classical competition-obsessed fathers. You don't even have to mention "You Gotta Be a Winner," because if there's one word that's used a lot in this movie, it's winner.
Yeah. He has his preconceived notions of what life
means
is
to be
about.
successful.
Yeah, exactly. What you're supposed to be doing, and
and on the
conform to his beliefs in that. You're a loser.
And on the opposite side, we have his brother-in-law, who's this liberal, gay college professor or scholar.
Yeah, exactly.
Pro scholar, and his stepson, which I realized after watching it a couple of times that he's actually only Olive is his biological daughter.
I did not realize that.
No, they mentioned just like in the passing, like we're gonna visit his father in Florida.
Okay, yeah.
So
I think I heard that line, but that's not really the thing I remember.
No,
it's not important.
No, I think the only thing I need to hear, because there's one scene where the grandfather talks to him, the son, and he doesn't know his name. He has to ask what his name is. It feels a bit better when you realize that.
That they're not related.
Exactly. But and these two are basically the more not liberal, not nihilist, but sort of they've thought about it on a different level, without sounding too much like I'm standing on one side here. But I still love that. Apart from this conflict, which seems almost symbolic of, the right wing versus the left wing in America at that time, we also have these little details that is sort of cram in every now and then, like health insurance in the beginning gets mentioned, that the uncle really should have stayed at the hospital because it's very fragile, but they can't afford it for him, and some scene when they're watching a George Bush speech and sort of just, I think. Yeah, to me it sums up 2006 very much. Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons I love it so much.
My strongest connection to this film, and this is a very personal one, but you will understand it. Like, when I was younger, and still to a certain extent, I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah?
I want to be a filmmaker now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the son in this movie spends, what is it, the first 2/3 of the movie, if not more, not speaking a single line, because he has decided that what is his goal? He wants to be a
pilot.
I know he wants to be a pilot, but what is his reasoning behind why he doesn't speak? Is it something that some writer or some philosopher?
He's a big fan of Nietzsche. I don't know if he's a Nietzsche wannabe or just.
He wants to focus on what he gets. Until he gets it, he's not going to speak.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting in the car in the van, and he hasn't spoken a line at this point. It's like 2/3 in the movie, and his sister is bugging him with tests in a magazine. And one of them is a test to see if you're colorblind or not. And she just holds it up and do you see like the red 3 or something in this collage? And he just has his notepad out and he's like, no, and he like just shakes his head, I don't see it. And they realize that he's colorblind. And everyone's arguing at this point. Like, tension is already really super high. And he just explodes. Like, he just sits there, not saying a line, and he just, like, you can feel like he is gonna break the back seat.
Yeah.
So, like, everyone's like, stop the car! And he just runs out. And I feel so sorry for him, because I have been there, man. Because I have the thing is, I have ear problems. I should probably mention that as well. I have tinnitus, and I have oversensitive hearing, which means that I need, currently, to have earplugs whenever I go out and, like, where there's a big amount of noise. Be it into the city or just, to the grocery store, basically. And, it sucks, because it kind of stops you when you want to do stuff.
Yeah. Also, one of the things about the ending, I'm going to try not to give too much away, but it's all about the little girl in the family who's going to compete in a child beauty contest. And probably... Since you mentioned the first 2/3 he doesn't speak, the last third of the movie is basically when the conflict gets really intense, because are we going to let her compete? Because it's obvious when they get there that this is a horrible contest.
Yeah.
It's beyond shallow. It's these brainwashed little girls with their stereotypical white trash parents sitting there.
Yeah,
you're going to be the most beautiful. We're going to beat you up.
It is toddlers and tiaras. That's what the main thing is called.
Yeah.
I realized my grandpa watches this channel that he gets through some sort of cable service, and they show old movies. And then they show toddlers and tiaras, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's horrible, and everybody in the family, except the girl, of course, or she realizes it too, but she wants to compete so bad.
Does she though? Does she realize it?
I think she feels kind of out of place, but she doesn't really realize.
But she doesn't realize that where they are is pretty much the devil.
Exactly. But it's sort of this conflict between, the father who's got to stand it, it's a competition, she's got to win, she's got to be a champion, and the mother who's more in the middle, she wants to do it, it's horrible, yes, but she really wants to do it, and the uncle and her brother who really wants to stop it because it's horrible. And without once again telling what happens when she's supposed to do her talent thing.
Of course. They show talent, just as a real beauty pageant.
Yeah, this is something that she has prepared with her grandpa that none of the other family members have seen, and just realized that the grandpa had it right all along. Not skip the contest, not try to be what the others are. Just go to the contest, show this is me, this is what I'm gonna do. It's not like what you expect, but this is me. Fuck off. And that's just. That was perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
That ending, that is so good.
I don't remember who I watched it with. It might have been. I don't remember who it was. But who watched it, and at the end of the movie, just going, oh, how terrible for her. How could they let her do that? And I thought they meant the beauty contest as a whole.
Yeah.
But it turned out that they were talking about the talent show. How could they let a grandpa do something so horrible? And it's just like, what? That was the most awesome thing ever.
Yes, it is, and it's so fun because she does not realize that what she's doing.
No, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, great dysfunctional family comedy.
Exactly, just fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, probably the best film Abigail Breslin has been in. That's The Little Sister. I saw her New Year's Eve, and I'm going to review that movie eventually because that is one of that might actually be the worst film I've seen this year. And granted, her story arc, her storyline in that is probably one of the least harmful ones. But God, fuck.
Yeah.
Go back to making Zombieland 2. Okay, let's go on to 2007.
The Search for the Twin
Peaks. Because that was actually a pretty okay year.
07. Yeah, they runners-ups.
Runners-ups, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I may have forgotten some because like we both said, this was a great film year.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best of the decade. But one I'd like to mention, of course, is The Departed, which is once again Marty Scorsese. Basically making Boston cool for the first time since Good Will Hunting. Just a great gangster movie, and of course Jack Nicholson's great, Mark Wahlberg is great, Alec Baldwin, Martin Sheen.
That feels like that's the reason why I have to see that film. It's because I have seen Mark Wahlberg in several films.
Yeah.
He's always terrible. And since he was Oscar nominated for The Departed,
he's not. It's not so much him being good as his actor being really funny. His character being really funny. Yes,
but still, he was nominated for something like. Take a look at The Fighter from last year. He was the only person in that movie that was not nominated.
Yeah.
Literally the only one. Melissa Leo won, Christian Bale won, Amy Adams was nominated.
I don't really get why people throw so much thesis at Mark Wahlberg. I mean, okay, The Happening, but...
I was gonna say...
Yeah, but
right?
when you say The Happening, I say Boogie Nights. He was really good in Boogie Nights.
I have not seen that yet because it's so long. I will have to watch it. I have that on my list because...
That's not the only thing that's long in it.
As we said...
Sorry?
As we said, we're going to do a 90s list, and I have, in this pad, I have a list of the films I need to see before we can make that list, and of course, that is on that list.
Yeah. And also, Last King of Scotland as a runner-up, completely because of Forrest Whitaker, who, of course, was going to win an Oscar that year, which he did.
But for the wrong thing, probably.
Yeah, he won it for
best May.
He's a supporting character.
Yeah.
It's about James McAvoy.
Gillian Anderson?
No, it's really just...
It's
just the relationship between him and Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
And he's really good too, as this naive, Western douchebag who's trying to have the African adventure, and he does, and he gets... into the whole Ugandan dictatorship, and all through it, he's despicable. He's horrible because he's not doing anything bad. He's just so fucking stupid. In a way that he's just, no, this is Africa, this is exotic, this is how it goes, and people are getting shot all around him, basically.
Oh my god, that sounds like my classmates to our Africa trip.
Yeah, but what the most fascinating character is Forrest Whitaker as Idi Amin, because what he plays is basically a really charming but very spoiled 5-year-old in a grown-up dictator's body. So just imagine. He's mentally basically 5, and he has the power to do whatever. Imagine how fucking scary that is. He's probably one of the scariest characters I've ever seen. I mean, Hannibal Lecter, Anne Wilkes, Forrest Whitaker in this part.
Because they're so cartoony in their
he feels really real. He feels like a very realistic narcissist, and it's incredibly scary to watch.
Even though completely different, that's why the guy from Pan's Labyrinth is kind of scary too, because of the fact that even though he is crazy and feels heartless, he kind of feels like someone that could exist.
Yeah, but the difference between the captain and Idi Amin is that the captain is always a cold bastard.
Yeah.
Idi Amin is really charming.
Yeah, I've seen the first like 20 minutes of this film. I've not seen the end yet.
It doesn't. It takes a while before you realize that there's something else behind, because the first part of the movie, he's like a guy you want to hang out with.
Yeah, he does. I just remember from the beginning he makes these jokes about stuff. And it's like you're sitting there
happy and laughing about everything.
Yeah, but he's making these jokes that kind of like that have violence, like violent threats in them, sort of.
Yeah,
and you're kind
very
of sitting,
subtle.
And you're sitting there like, he would totally do that if you disagree with him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and that's one difference also between him and Anne Wilkes. In Misery, that Anne Wilkes is more creepy when she's
crazy.
Calm.
Exactly.
But she's more creepy when she's calm. Once she explodes, she becomes cartoony. But with
you're murdering my misery.
But with Forrest Whitaker, he goes from calm and happy to realistically scary. Yeah, he's definitely. Just because of that character, that movie is
and of course it also helps the fact that you know that this guy, even though he might not have been as played similarly as he is in real life, he has existed.
Yeah, exactly.
He's dead now, right?
Yeah, he died in 2003.
Yeah, but yeah, he has existed, and and also there are more people like him out there, especially in Africa.
Yeah, around the world.
And this is very poignant because we're going to give ourselves away here, but since he's wearing a different shirt, I might as well say it. Kim Jong-il died today, which is very fucking perfect. You did not know that?
No.
Kim Jong-il died.
No.
Kim Jong is dead. In fact, that was why I was in town. I was trying to track down a copy of Team America World Police.
I mean, I know he's a horrible bastard, but...
he was the best dictator ever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No one could wear a jumpsuit like him.
I'm gonna try to get through the rest of this review here. Oh my god.
You can't drive Kim Jong-il.
Yeah. You know Kim Jong-il is my Hotmail address.
We're gonna have to bleep that.
Yeah. No, it's not the complete Hotmail address.
Oh, but you have that in there. Oh,
yeah, I got a couple numbers.
I just woke up this morning and I checked my phone from Facebook and people making Kim Jong-il jokes. No, what the fuck?
I'm almost prepared to make. If Napoleon Dynamite wasn't so damn good, I would make Team America my 2004 in his honor.
Okay.
2007.
Yeah. This year was not as strong, at least not for me. I basically have 3 movies here, a couple of movies I have not seen. I guess the biggest glaring omission here is I have not seen Into the Wild, which is supposed to be fantastic, so maybe that would have won had I seen it. But the 3 films I have super bad struck, like just crossed out here, so that one was not really that important. But Atonement is one of my runners-up. Yeah. Because basically, even though the story isn't the most fantastic ever, I saw it before I saw the film Hannah. That Joe Wright, the same director, made this year. Yeah. And I saw it basically so I could walk into Hannah with his directorial style in mind. Yeah. And Atonement has amazing camera work. there's a scene, especially one which is very like well talked about when it comes to film scholars and people that study film. There is like a 4-minute long single take scene where they're walking along a beach during the war, and all this like basically surreal stuff is happening. There are injured soldiers everywhere. There are people singing up by a carousel on the pier. They're shooting horses that are injured. And they're basically just James McAvoy, walking along here with some people, just seeing all this craziness happen. And it's beautiful.
I felt the strongest scene, which I can't mention what it is, because it's basically the very final scene.
Yeah.
But when the main character tells what really happened to the others.
Yeah.
That's basically the one thing I remember. Because that was the
best.
Yeah.
Narrative-wise, that is the best part of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a movie, much like I would say Usual Suspects, is a movie that pretty much thrives on its climax. But yeah, it did not win. That's why it's my runners-up, is because maybe the film is a little slow-paced, even though I really like it. Then you have Zodiac by David Fincher, which is, probably my favorite David Fincher film. Probably up there, like, I think Social Network might be up there as well. Yeah, but not Fight Club and not Seven. And basically none of the movies he's made with Brad Pitt.
Maybe The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I'm gonna see this Thursday.
I'm seeing it on Sunday because I work very late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think so, because I saw the Swedish film and I thought I was like, really, that was it story-wise? So he can make the most amazing thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, Swedes, we had a sort of thing for cop movies.
Yeah, so the thing is that, it kind of feels like a dime a dozen movie that has been blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Zodiac, but the reason why Zodiac isn't my real pick is because of the fact that I kind of feel like, not to say too much, I've only seen the director's cut, and I love the director's cut. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something, much like Almost Famous. It's a really long film. But the thing is, all the Zodiac murders that like are confirmed Zodiac killings happen in the film's first 30 to 40 minutes. Then it's another 2 hours of, I wouldn't say meandering, because that sounds so negative, but it's 2 hours of character analysis between Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and some other characters in the film. And it's terrific acting and all that. And just to say, the Blu-ray is probably the most beautiful Blu-ray ever.
I would still say it's about 2 hours of a David Fincher movie that doesn't look like a David Fincher movie, and I'm very conservative when it comes to David Fincher. I want it to be dark, gritty, and fucking shitty all over the set. Maybe that's why I didn't like Zodiac, The Social Network, or Benjamin Button, because I
have not seen Benjamin Button. I have that.
It's basically a bad version of Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I've heard. I've heard that Benjamin Button is pretty much Forrest Gump. It's like, why would I want to see that? I haven't, so I will see it. But I like my David Fincher movies in a certain way. I like them. You like them with Alien 3.
I wouldn't say that, but I like them covered in darkness and feces.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I just had is like a fun little query about Jake Gyllenhaal hated working with David Fincher.
Yeah.
Because that David Fincher insisted that the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal has this sort of boyish, not cuteness-ish acting method he goes for that doesn't disappear until like you do 20 or 30 takes. So David Fincher made Jake Gyllenhaal pretty much do every single fucking take in this movie at least 20 to 30 times. And I listened to the commentary track for this film. There's a scene where Jake Gyllenhaal just walks up to Mark Ruffalo's character outside of a courthouse and just says like 2 lines. And David Fincher says, "This is the one we made the most takes for. It took 50 takes." I'm like,
yeah.
What?
That's probably why I can never be a film director. I can never care so much about detail.
But yeah, here is my real pick.
Yeah.
And this one you do not understand.
No.
And this is pretty much an atmosphere film. Much like Midnight in Paris.
I realize that, but still.
Much like Midnight in Paris.
That's my kind of atmosphere.
I think that the atmosphere and the final, the final tone of the film is what makes me pick this movie. And it is Pixar's Ratatouille.
Yeah.
because probably known as the least liked, at least like commercially, at least if you ask people now in hindsight about if you just take away Cars, but if you take away if the real Pixar films, I have a hard time finding people that really like Ratatouille. At least like in the common non-film like real cineasts and movie buffs. A lot of people just say that movie's boring, and that
but I would say there's two reasons why it's boring, because I really found it boring. But it's first of all the characters Remy and what's his name, Linguini, or
exactly.
They're not very likable. They're not very interesting. The second thing is, I think you basically have to work in the restaurant business in order to find this interesting, because that's one of the things. I mean. These characters, their relationship to food, I couldn't relate to it. I think the best food I've ever had in my life, my reaction may have been like, yeah, that's about it.
And I'm a guy who, if I ever went up on death row, would ask for a Pizza Hut pizza and a Whopper. That was my final meal.
But these guys, like Remy, he mixes cheese and strawberry and gets a fucking orgasm out of it. It's not.
But I love that. I love the visual and
it's very visually good. But the thing is, I mean, the whole thing, one of the major dilemmas of the movie is, our fine restaurant used to have 5 stars, but now it only has 3. Like, life sucks.
Oh, this evil little sous chef is whoring out Gustav's name.
Yeah, but he was a villain that I could. He wasn't a good Pixar villain. He wasn't memorable, because Pixar villains are really, really good usually.
But you can tell right from the start that this guy's a douche.
Exactly.
He's the same douche.
He's a simple villain. He's a simple villain for the kids. I was okay with him, but the antagonist was really a villain. But
what about Peter O'Toole? And I think one of his last roles.
Yeah,
he's dead now. I think so. I'm not sure.
Why are you doing all these dead drops today? I mean, I can't get sad for Peter O'Toole now because Kim Jong-il has overshadowed him. But the thing about him is, he was really funny to watch. Anton Egon and something, food critic.
Yeah, his name's Ego.
Ego. Yeah. He which is a great name too. But I mean, he was really fun to watch. But the thing about it, I came to the conclusion that either he's got like a personal vendetta against Gusteau's for some reason, the restaurant in the movie, where he just has to crush that place. And just why? Or he's just a really tough food critic, and that's why people respect him. But he's not tough, he's fucking incompetent, because he basically, his attitude is that either it's the best of the best or it's shit. And the way he walks into when he meets up with Linguini and says that I'm gonna go to your restaurant and try your food, he has already made up his mind. This is gonna suck. He is a really incompetent.
The closest thing you get to it's pretty much the meet up before a boxing match.
Yeah, and I mean he's not there to crush this restaurant. He's there to judge. I mean he's there to be a neutral part.
Yeah. I mean, when he first gets to hear that Gusteau is like back. He's like, I already put an end to that miserable restaurant with my last...
Yeah, he's got a vendetta against it.
Yeah.
What's his problem with it?
But of course, that basically that is a direct parallel to the, some cinema critics who basically are critics just to bash. Because that is...
Yeah,
this film, I think we almost have to go into, because basically Ego at the end of the movie writes a review.
Yeah.
And of course... It's a positive review because he's been surprised with the wonderful simplicity of the food, and he does point out just the fact, and I feel this because I make reviews where I love screaming about how horrible something is. I love writing negative comments about terrible movies.
Yeah.
And he points out we thrive on. I think this is actually word for word. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun both to write and to read.
Yeah.
And that is basically it. That's one of the points of the film, is just trying to show that negative criticism is really fun, but it's damaging in a lot of ways. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really
some movies exist to get negative criticism, like
Twilight, Transformers.
Yeah, Star Wars prequels, Matrix sequels. I mean, these
Of
these
course, every
exist for a
single
reason because
romantic comedy starring Rob Schneider.
Yeah, we want to bash him because it's fun, but yeah, I mean, bashing for the sake of bashing, of course not. I just thought that, like I said, you might find this movie very boring unless you're interested in the subject. And the other reason why I may have been a bit disappointed in this movie is that the two movies that Brad Bird directed before this, I loved. First of all, The Incredibles, which was awesome, and then
Which I did not like to begin with, but I think I already explained that. I did not like it that much. I felt it was. I thought that was more like, you know, it was easy to see where it was going. It was predictable.
Yeah.
But as I said, I've grown to really love that film.
Yeah.
I love The Incredibles. It's fantastic, and if there's another Pixar movie that deserves a sequel.
Yeah. That one had a real sequel build-up.
Do the Toy Story 3 thing. Have everyone have grown. Make Bob old. Have it be so that Violet is getting married, Dash is going off to college, and him feeling like he doesn't really have a place to be.
Or whatever. I don't like to think too much about what that sequel would be. I would just like to be positively surprised. But the other movie, which can't get a sequel. The Iron Giant, which may have been one of the possibly top 10 greatest animated films ever, I think. I really love The Iron Giant.
I wouldn't place it that high, but I really like The Iron Giant too.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and that of course cannot get a sequel because that would ruin the whole thing. So thank God it bombed for that reason.
It's so sad to be able to say that though.
Yeah, but we know it's Warner Brothers. They would have done a sequel if it did good.
Absolutely.
Especially with that sequel hook.
Yeah.
But I preferred it as an open ending.
It's an open ending that makes it so that you know that the ending is happy.
Yeah, but exactly. But anyway, Brad Bird. But those two movies, I think, were his original pitch. While Ratatouille was him taking over somebody else's movie.
Possibly, yeah.
And I could really tell that because it did not have. It had a charm. It had a lot of charm, but it did not have as much brains as his two earlier movies had.
Say it like this. Brad Bird was one of the original writers on The Simpsons, which really tells, if you look at The Incredibles, you can really tell where he's coming from.
Yeah. And he's doing a lot of smart.
And I'm a little pissed off now that he's making Mission Impossible because as we covered last time when we were talking when we were getting started. We are going to have to go see the new Mission Impossible because it's Brad Bird.
Yeah, I know it's Brad Bird, but still, I mean, Mission Impossible.
And what's his face? The other guy from Pixar, the guy that made Finding Nemo, and what was the other film he made? The movie that we're going to talk about. Andrew Stanton, the guy that made WALL-E.
Yeah.
He is making John Carter John Carter of Mars, this weird action Disney movie that's coming out in the spring. So apparently Pixar is going live action.
Okay, we'll see what Brave has to offer though.
Yeah.
So I don't have any runner-ups. I only have one pick for 2007 that I can think of, and that's I'm Not There.
Oh God, this is the one movie I cannot really talk about at all.
Understandable. The thing is, it's a movie about Bob Dylan, and it's a very symbolic movie about Bob Dylan, and in a way, you kind of have to like and listen to Bob Dylan.
I have to admit, I was sitting on Wikipedia with the plot synopsis of the film as well.
Yeah, just to get it. It's really hard to understand unless you.
No, keep going. You're the one that knows this movie. I like it, but I do not understand it that well.
I just have to say, first of all, that when you do a biography of a rock star, it's pretty much it's become a formula. You know, it's how he started up, then the moment he wrote the future hit, and then his rise to fame. And then he starts taking heroin and becomes that asshole.
See, the downfall and then the resurgence. If there is one.
Either it's an OD at the end, or it's a small redeeming moment when it's kind of bittersweet. And the thing is, Bob Dylan's life would have been perfect for that kind of horrible movie, because he basically spent 3 years being a great musician in the mid-60s, and then the rest of the next 40 years
Judas.
Yeah, exactly. The next 40 years was Judas, and was bitter and complaining that people didn't get him. And it would have been, if anyone else had done that movie, it probably would have been that rise to fame and a long downfall.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they did something completely different. They, instead of making a movie about Bob Dylan, they made a movie about 6 made-up characters, which are strongly based on different
They are
parts
symbols.
of,
They're symbolized versions of Bob Dylan.
yeah, different stages of his life and career.
Exactly.
And the thing is that it's not so much his life as the world as he see it, because it's not just 6 different people. They're living in 6 different worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got...
Some are black and white, some...
Yeah, exactly. It's for example, Kate Blanchett plays the part of Bob Dylan after he turned to electric guitars and became a rock star instead of a folk singer. And the world that she inhabits is this black and white world, which is basically inhabited completely by 60s hipster douchebags and cameras. That's the whole world that she lives in. And then there's another part of another character played by Marcus Carl Franklin, who's Bob Dylan as the sort of poster folk singer. You know which one I mean? The black child.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that because that is my favorite segment. It's also the first segment, isn't it?
It's basically how it started off, but in a way that. It's about how he wanted to be Woody Guthrie. The character's even called Woody Guthrie. That his will to have been one of the great folk singers of the Depression. And when you follow that character, you're in this romanticized version of the Depression in the 30s. Until suddenly one of the characters just walks up to him and says, you know it's 1950.
You don't live in that era.
Yeah.
Sing about your own problems.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start to realize that maybe this isn't the reality in the movie. Maybe this is the world as Bob Dylan sees it.
I'm going to fill up my water.
Yeah, in different stages of his life. And maybe it's him as he sees himself during these stages of his life. And that's a really smart move. Because... I would say the final result of making the movie like that, making it so heavily symbolic and so heavily inside Bob Dylan's own mind, that it's kind of like watching, like being inside a Bob Dylan song, in a way. Like instead of Bob Dylan's life as it was, Bob Dylan's music told as a film, in a lot of ways. So yeah, once again, you probably have to like Bob Dylan. You may even have to know a thing or two about his life.
Either that, or you have to be someone like me who can look at like cinematography and like see the narrative qualities in a different aspect. Like you have to be one of those two.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just going to be weird for you.
Yeah.
Did you have any?
No, I took my runners up at the beginning, so I think we're...
Yeah, okay, for 2008 we actually have the same favorite movie.
So it's
we
the same film.
Should we say it in 3?
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, Kung Fu Panda. This delightful DreamWorks charming picture about a misfit who finds his place in... you want to take over?
Yeah, hey, I like that movie.
Okay, sorry. It's WALL-E.
Yeah, it's WALL-E. It's definitely better than Kung Fu Panda, but I really like Kung Fu Panda.
I hate DreamWorks nowadays.
WALL-E was... When I saw WALL-E the first time, I think that was where when I realized what Pixar had become.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
when you fully see what... That was a game changer in a way. Because of the fact that
it didn't just change our perception of Pixar, it changed our perception of movies, animation,
especially animation in general.
Yeah.
Just like the fact, I remember before the film came out, when I was reading on a website and they were talking about how the first 40 minutes of WALL-E were going to be silent, pretty much. And I was like, that's going to suck. Yeah. Because that was stupid.
Yeah, I was thinking just like, oh, they're trying some kind of new art scene.
And to put that in perspective, I was in film school. I had just finished film. Maybe that was why I had just finished film history, which we did in chronological order, which meant that I spent 2 months watching silent movies every morning. So yeah, I was adept, and accustomed to silent films, but yet when I heard this, I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna suck. It's gonna be awful." And no,
it turned out not to be.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And of course, it's a lot of questions which are unanswered during these 40 minutes because the characters don't talk. But there's a reason that when people talk about WALL-E in reviews and shows and different, when they show images from the film, it's only the first 40 minutes.
Exactly.
So the end of the movie is basically just there for exposition.
Yeah,
it's all about the beginning.
Put it like this. WALL-E lives alone on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, because the world has been, and again, this is a movie with a very strong environmental message.
Yeah,
because of the way the film establishes itself and the way that everything goes, I really like this message. I like it. It doesn't feel like they're trying to hammer it in too badly, at least. But the thing is, he's alone. They establish that there are robots like him. What does WALL-E stand for?
I don't remember.
Yeah, WALL-E stands for something. Basically, they're small, like cleaner robots. They're there to clean up the mess that the Earth has become and all the garbage.
Yeah, not cleaner robots as in cleaner than thou, but clean up robots.
Yeah. They're cleaning bots.
Yeah.
And it's just like I got teary-eyed when I sat in the theater and saw these first opening shots when they go from outer space and zoom in on the Earth, and you see that Earth has become this horrible, dirty, disgusting place, which even though it is this dirty and disgusting, on film, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's both ugly and beautiful. And God, it's just so...
Yeah, it's interesting that it's basically the same Earth as in Idiocracy, but it looks pretty much the same, but for some reason when we see it in WALL-E, it's beautiful, but when we see it in Idiocracy, it's fun.
Exactly. But basically, where this movie and they establish they show like there's some monitors or something that are glitched out, so they show pictures of the United States president expositing about how they're going to leave the Earth.
Is he the president? Isn't he like the president of the company?
By and large, maybe he is. He's something like that. He's a suit.
There's a lot of the cliches about the dystopian future. First of all, the environmental cliche, of course, that in the future the Earth will be destroyed. And also, in the future, the Earth won't be ruled as a democracy anymore, but by a major corporation.
It's a big shot at capitalism.
And people...
Consumerism.
Yeah, exactly. It's consumerism. Yeah.
And it's very fun to see that coming from the United States, because the United States is still that country that doesn't care about the environment, doesn't try in any way.
It's all over the world. We know we're consumers, assholes, but we still do it. I mean...
Yeah, but it's funny that they're the worst, and they are often the people that try to put their foot down when someone tries to show this message to kids, especially a Disney movie. It's kind of fun to just see them being able to get that message out there without anyone really saying, "Hey, we gotta sell this many Mickey Mouse toys to get the company go around. Stop talking."
But the thing is, I don't think that they care so much if
because Disney owns everything behind the scenes. Disney owns the world.
But in a way, I don't think it matters to them that kids are being fed anti-corporate messages, because as soon as they get to the gift shop and see the little WALL-E toy, it's fun. Yeah,
of course you want WALL-E. But anyway, basically where this movie gets a little weaker is when the humans eventually get back into the picture.
Yeah, it's not artistic, but it's exposition. It's what it is.
But the thing is, anyway, WALL-E lives. He's the only robot that still functions on this on Earth, or at least in the city he is in. And you see all these dead robots lying around, and WALL-E's still doing his job. He's still picking up these pieces of trash, turning them into cubes by crushing them in his stomach, and building these skyscrapers of crap. And he has a pet cockroach.
Yeah.
And somehow, and the thing is, WALL-E has built this trailer that is filled with all these small little knickknacks and stuff that have just fascinated him over the years. And it's just so beautiful to see this. Like, he has this collection, he has, basically repairing parts for himself, as long as he has an iPod that he uses to watch it's a Barbara Streisand musical on. And he is fascinated when the two characters in the film hold hands. And that's basically his driving motive for the entire movie, is he wants to hold someone's hand.
Yeah.
And it's so goddamn beautiful. I love this little robot, even though he never says anything but his name.
I think it's also pretty interesting to point out that with Pixar, now they're of course hailed as geniuses for a reason. Wall-E had a lot to do with that. I think it's interesting that when they were in the making of Toy Story, they basically had a lot of these ideas. Wall-E, I think, they came up with the idea for Wall-E during the process of making Toy Story.
Yeah.
So I like to believe that through this whole time, from the George Lucas, Steve Jobs era and into the future,
these ideas were like
they had a goal. They had all the time. They had the goal which they have reached now of redefining the way we look at animated films.
It is kind of funny to just look back, like on Wikipedia. There's an entire page of Pixar cameos where they show when certain characters appear in other movies before. Wall-E is in not Finding Nemo, but maybe he is in Finding Nemo. I think he is in the dentist office in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And I know, for example, that of course Nemo is in Monsters Inc. and stuff like that. So, and some of these are pretty impressive, like the scope, how early on those characters are in those movies, which proves that they were at least concepts.
Wall-E was even in the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah, of course. E.T. is in Star Wars Episode 1.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say about
No, I was thinking about if there are any runners-ups. I don't think I have any this year either. It's kind of like I would say The Dark Knight just to have a runner-up, but really it's not that.
It's not that. I have that here, but that's not a movie I don't really want to even mention.
No, it's not that amazing.
If there's any other movie you really want to see that's an Oscar, I have 2 runners-up here, or 3, but only one that I like. Those are personal runners-up. I have one professional one, which is Slumdog Millionaire. It won Best Film. It deserved it. Slumdog Millionaire is a fantastic film.
Yeah.
But then I have
not so much for me, but
then I have 3 picks here that are personal picks. First is Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood. Yes, Clint Eastwood overacts, but he is this crazy old white guy that lives in a now immigrant neighborhood in Detroit, and it's basically just his last couple of like him getting to know this Asian, this Hmong family that moves in next door. And I don't even want to say that much about it because we're on press for time, so we don't run out of battery.
Time to check time again. Keep going.
That, and then there are my 2... Boy A, which also came out in 2008, which is a movie starring Andrew Garfield. But my 2 real picks here are Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Yeah?
Which is it stars Michael Cera of Scott Pilgrim fame.
Yeah. Is he really of Scott Pilgrim fame as much as of Juno fame, or?
Yeah, it's of Superbad fame. I think it's probably more like I almost think the movie was trying to be marketed as sort of like Juno-esque.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Juno, but he plays the same sort of yuppie person, like. He doesn't really even have a personality.
No, yuppie. He hipster. I think some meme called alternative movie titles.
Yeah.
Were just Juno is called Hipsters, the movie, and that could have been Scott Pilgrim too.
Yeah, but that would have to be video game hipsters.
Yeah.
But anyway. He plays this guy who's obsessed with his ex-girlfriend, who's basically a bitch, and he's the only person that can't realize that. And he's like a bassist or something, and a guitarist in a band, and he goes out into New York City. It's basically like not a vision quest, but it's a quest through New York's nightlife as he, along with his friends, these other gay guys that he's in a band with. And a girl named Nora are going to try and find this band that are having a secret concert somewhere in New York in the early morning on a Friday night. So it's basically them trying to find this band, and along the way, of course, Nick and Nora fall in love, and I don't know. This again, like with Ratatouille and a lot of these other things. New York is the reason to love this movie. It has a good indie soundtrack, and just New York as a setting just works so well in this film. It has some really bizarre moments. I don't know really how to categorize this movie. It's a very unique. It's not a romantic comedy. It's not a normal teen film either. That's why that movie again bombed. Did not come out in theaters at all. Here came out on DVD. I bought it for 250 crowns. I just threw my money like on a random bet, and I ended up.
You should start downloading illegally.
I really should.
Everybody out there, you should start downloading.
And then my next choice, which again, ironically, horribly bombed. No one saw it. City of Ember, which is a fantasy, like it's basically a throwback to 80s fantasy films for kids. And you are going to like it as soon as I say one name. Bill fucking Murray. He is without saying too much, he's the villain. Bill Murray's the villain.
Yeah, he's great as a villain. Just look at Kingpin, which we're gonna get to in the next
basically,
list.
this kind of is exactly what WALL-E is, only in reverse. This film begins with the world experiencing nuclear war, and instead of going into space, which the humans in WALL-E did, these people build a city underground called Ember and flee into the city. And
so it's Matrix.
What? Not really, because there are no robots or anything like that. But the world is uninhabitable for X amount of years because of the nuclear fallout. So they escape into the city, and the mayor of the city gets a box, and inside this box that will open after I think 200 years, it is like the plans to get back to the surface world. And what happens is this movie stars one of my personal favorites, Saoirse Ronan, of Hannah fame. And Atonement as well, and a guy, I think his name is either Harry or Luke Treadaway. They're two twins. They look exactly the same. But basically, it's about them. The box gets forgotten somewhere down the line. So they've been in this city for I think 400 or 500 years, and the city's falling apart. The lights are flickering on and off. The generator, which is the only reason why they're still alive, is breaking down. And it's about basically trying to save the city, and eventually. Saoirse Ronan's character she realizes that she finds the box and she finds the clues to that there might be a surface world they can return to, and basically becomes a game of corruption and them running around the city trying to avoid being captured and trying to find the surface world.
Yeah.
And I love it because of just the fact that it's an 80s. I have goosebumps just talking about it. It gives me never-ending story feelings, and I just love it for what it is.
Yeah,
and again, that movie made no money at all.
I'm starting to think, since the 90s is to me was the 80s is to you, I was thinking about if they did a Y2K movie now, which is the alternative present after the Y2K catastrophe.
They made that movie. It's called 2012, and it's all about global catastrophe. The world's going to explode.
Oh, why hasn't anyone strangled Emmerich yet?
You do know they have announced that they're making a sequel to Independence Day, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to think about it. So let's move on to 2009. Yeah. We have a lot of movie going, but maybe not batteries. I might have to plug it in after a while. That's it. But okay, from Pixar to Pixar, I guess in your case.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just gonna throw the runners out here first, but yeah, I can already tell you. It's Up is as you already alluded to, is my pick. But my top 3 films of this year, with one exception, which I'm almost going to disqualify from this, my disqualification is the film The Cove, which is a 2009 documentary about the dolphin slaughter in Taiji, which is a fantastic film. But since it's a documentary, I sort of feel like I put that aside, just as I have not seen an Inconvenient Truth, but I would also put that aside if this was the case. Bowling for Columbine, I think, is a lot more acceptable, as you mentioned earlier, just because of the fact that that movie has almost like a narrative quality to it. There are a lot more added...
Yeah, I mean, An Inconvenient Truth isn't narrative at all.
No.
And I don't know about this one.
But The Cove is fantastic, and I'm also just putting it out there so I think everyone should see that film. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's the reason I hate Japan. It's the reason I laughed when that earthquake, when that fucking tsunami ruined Taiji's boats. I know, horrible to say, but I fucking laughed. At least at that little aspect of it. Like, we can't go kill dolphins or whales in Antarctica. Anyway.
I think this is going in a direction with you now admitting to laughing about a catastrophe and me almost crying about a horrible dictator.
Summary. We are both terrible people.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Then I guess I have to say Star Trek. I love Star Trek, and Inglourious Bastards is probably the hardest to cut for my top 3.
Yeah, that was a good one too, yeah.
But my number 1 is Up, and my runners up are Coraline, which is a fantastic movie by director Henry Selick, who directed Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. This movie made me... Actually, funny story is, I was writing a review for film criticism in school, and I was writing my middle text. We were doing a short, a middle, and a long review. And I made my middle review on Coraline. I think it was the best received in the entire class.
Yeah.
But the thing was, as I was writing the review, I started analyzing the film in my head, and I raised the movie from a 4 to a 5, based on just, when I was writing the review, like, damn, this movie was great, wasn't it? Oh my god, this movie's fantastic. This movie's a fucking 5, dude. So the review I was writing made me like the movie more. But anyway, my second, this is the hardest pick for me. Yeah,
for me too. But
I was struck.
Should mention? Oh no, we'll take it later.
Okay, let's take that later.
Yeah.
Actually, no. We have a movie that we both feel very strongly about.
It's basically our number 2 spot.
Yeah, exactly. Thing was, you had a hard time. His pick is not Up, but you had a hard time between 3 movies. Or was it?
Was it 3? Which one was the
my 2 runners up? My runner up and my pick.
Yeah, but your pick was kind of place 3 for me. So
yeah,
that was
okay.
But basically,
I was between 2 movies, and I will wait to reveal which number 2 is.
Yeah.
So we can discuss that after we've discussed your pick.
Yeah, and I was literally the same. I couldn't decide. The only reason I finally decided was because we had the same number 2 movie. So we're gonna take it as a...
And the thing that made me choose Up over the other film is because of the fact that Up is one of the few films that, along with It's a Wonderful Life, almost every single time Forrest Gump, but Up is the film that I put it on and I will cry within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the opening of this film, where you get to see Carl Fredricksen meet his wife Ellie, and you get to see through a montage, a non-speaking montage, just with like an instrumental background, you get to see their entire life together in about 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is the most heart-wrenchingly beautiful and sad thing ever. Because of the fact that you get to see this entire life. Carl isn't like, the traditional, he's not like Walt Kowalski from Gran Torino, even though I like to say Gran Torino is, like to say that Up is Gran Torino for kids.
Yeah, I mean, in the way he's a stereotypical old man, but...
Yeah, but the thing is, he is not directly angry at everyone, and he also, because this movie gives you more of an explanation. Up and Gran Torino both begin with the wife dying, but whereas Gran Torino gives you no real reason and then decides to sort of maybe fill you in a little bit later on, Up from the forefront just shows you this is why you're supposed to realize how horrible it is that this person has vanished from the world.
Yeah, not just the fact that his wife is gone, which is of course the major problem for him, but also... which is the main driving force of the story is that they never got to do that one vacation.
Yeah, they had one plan, and that was that they were going to go see the frigging big mountain, like where is it, Brazil or is it Peru?
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Okay, yeah. They were going to go to South America and see these big flats, these enormous mountains with flat top surfaces.
Yeah. And
they never did. And by the time Carl realizes that they should do that, his wife is too sick to travel.
Yeah.
And and basically also that Carl is now fighting. The only thing he has left is his house with all the memories in it, and the world around him is fighting to take his house away from him so that the world can progress.
And just to mention how important the house is too. In the beginning we see them as children drawing, this is what my house is going to look like, and they actually build it.
They are playing in this house.
Yeah.
They are playing in this rundown house that no one lives in.
Yeah, but they're also planning how they're going to...
Yeah, then they grow up and they buy this rundown house where they met. And build it to the way it looks, and this house is the house is their entire lives together.
Yeah,
and
just every single detail he has left in his life has some incredibly strong connection to pretty much his entire.
The house is filled with their entire lives. You can see that, like many old people's houses are. Like you see their entire lives in this house, and you come to.
Maybe it's time for us to stop visit old people and just think old people stuff when we see this stuff.
Exactly.
And realize there's something more to it.
Yeah. But it's... And basically, when it becomes apparent that Carl will not be able to live in this house anymore because basically he's going to get kicked out and taken into an old folks' home, he decides he's going to flee. And since they establish that he... Again, this movie, right off the bat, we know from Mythbusters you cannot make a house float with helium balloons. It does not work. But
in Pixar's world, it works.
Yeah, exactly. You do not fucking care. They've established that he's a balloon. He was a balloon salesman or something. So he basically takes all these helium balloons.
Once again, also the connection to the childhood. Balloons play a major part throughout life. Yeah. Once again, just
exactly.
Putting it,
so he basically he makes a blimp out of his house with colorful balloons. Amazing tech.
Yeah.
First of all, every single balloon, the way they look like real balloons, they act like real balloons should act. Fantastic. And then he gets his little kid, Russell, along for the ride.
Yeah, who just happens to stand on the porch when the house takes off.
Exactly.
And I think about the characters, Russell and Carl, is that this is an animated movie. This is a Pixar movie, but still, once again, a proof of Pixar's genius. We're sounding a little religious here about Pixar, I think, but
they've earned it at this point.
Yeah, these two characters, they seem more human than most live-action humans I've seen in a lot of movies. Like if we take whatever movie, just whatever praise movie, like in No Country for Old Men, or whatever praise movie has come out. They don't feel like real people in the same way. These two animated dolls seem like they really exist a lot more.
Yeah, it's like the entire like the way they treat each other, the way they like bounce off each other feels like Russell is an over-enthusiastic kid who you can't take the hint that Carl Fredricksen is annoyed by him, and Carl, at the same point, he's sort of withdrawn, but at the same time, he's not like an overacted character who hates this kid. He just finds him annoying and wants to get the kid home because the kid has sort of ruined his adventure.
Yeah,
he's become a responsibility that obviously he doesn't want to have because he was probably never planning on coming back.
No.
Obviously, he flew away with his house, but now he somehow has to get this kid home. And that, of course, becomes a very big burden that he does not want, and he's too old to take care of.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, the entire... I mean, Doug, they find a dog that has a collar that makes him speak. I mean, Doug is kind of annoying. I find him kind of annoying because he is... I mean, I love him, but he's supposed to be annoying.
But the thing is, it gets weirder and weirder. I mean, the house flying with balloons, that's not the weird part.
Exactly.
But it kind of takes us there step by step, so it doesn't seem that strange when the dogs show up, which in any other movie would be really, really strange.
I just remember that this was the first animated film to have ever opened the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
And I remember how like every reviewer was glowing about how fantastic this film was.
Yeah.
This was a movie that really did take me 2 or 3 viewings to fully understand.
Yeah.
Or like really, really love as much as I do, because I thought WALL-E, I like Up more than WALL-E these days.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I did not do that at first, but I really just love Up. As it progresses, at first I was a little like, really? This sort of becomes a little too childish, I felt.
Yeah.
But I don't care anymore, because like I just had to accept the world the film was giving you.
But it's a very human, real story inside this fantasy adventure world. Yeah, but it works perfectly flawlessly, almost.
And the relationship that evolves between this old man and this little kid is beautiful. So I cried, but I always cry at the beginning of this film, and I always cry at the end. Because they're two perfect ending, perfect beginning, perfect ending. It's just fantastic. I love this movie, and I think it is my favorite Pixar movie. Ironically, it is somehow
I think Pixar's greatest work has been in the recent years. I thought at the beginning that DreamWorks was the better studio in the late '90s, but nowadays, of course, that has switched completely. So I think Pixar, if we don't count the sequels, or at least one particular sequel that I have yet to see and may not ever see.
That movie's sad just because of the fact that people treat it. I'm going to say it right out. Cars 2 is not terrible. I actually did a review for that. It's not terrible. Had it been made by Sony...
Cars 1 was bad.
But that's the thing. It's bad by Pixar standards.
Yeah.
That's it. Had it been made by another animated studio, it would have been better. It would have felt better.
Wouldn't have cared so much. But if we don't count the sequels, then Pixar is at its absolute height right now.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so excited to see Brave.
Yeah, it's a new untested director, which makes it a lot more interesting. But God, before we get to your pick, she worked on the Iron Giant, I think, as an animator. I think it's a she. This person has worked on big movies, like animated films before.
The only thing I didn't understand though, is I already mentioned that the original title I think was The Bear and the Bow.
Yeah.
Which is what we see in the trailer.
That sounds.
What?
That for me that strikes as a better name.
Yeah, especially because it's set in Scotland.
Yeah.
And people speak Scottish accent and it's called Brave. That's a really bad idea considering we think about another movie then. But
let's get to your pick.
Yeah, my pick is A Serious Man by the Coen brothers, which are, like I may have mentioned earlier in this review, huge idols of mine. I love these people. It wasn't so crazy about No Country for Old Men or True Grit or Burn After Reading though, but here the rock.
Two of those movies I really, really like.
But the thing about this one is that this one is very similar to Oh Brother Where Art Thou in the way that once again they're doing the sort of old legend put in the modern world. So this is kind of like book endings to me.
Yeah.
I started talking about that kind of movie and I end talking about that kind of movie. This time it's the Book of Job, which is basically, to sum it up in case anybody doesn't know what that's about, God treats an innocent man like shit
just
in order to test his faith.
Yeah, because Satan's... I know this basically South Park explained it to me.
Yeah, I don't know if Satan is in every version of the story, but I think he's in the Bible, or he's some kind of angel in the Bible.
Someone is basically questioning God's method by saying the only reason why Joe praises your name is because you're so kind to him, and just says, well, I'm gonna fucking show you.
Yeah, and this is basically what happens. And once again, they've taken away all the obvious spiritual. It's a very spiritual movie, but you never see anything which is outright supernatural. They talk a lot about religion, and you can feel some kind of supernatural presence, or some kind of curse, at least, over the main character.
It feels like this guy really has bad luck, and by the end of it, so almost far-fetched things are happening to him that it feels like these things cannot be happening without some sort of divine
Exactly. That's the thing I love about movies. Also kind of like Sitcom, which is a French movie. I think it's from the 2000s, so since I haven't mentioned it, I'm throwing it as a runners-up of whatever year it was, or it was 90s, never mind. But it's the same thing there, that you think it can't get any worse. It's the constant thought you have in your head, and you get constantly surprised by how much his life sinks to, down in a shit pile, basically. And so that's one of the reasons that, once again, you never get any answers. That's basically what the first scene is all about, which I think there's a theory I've heard that it's about the main character's ancestors.
Yeah.
Killing a Debuk, which is a sort of like Jewish demon slash creature of some kind.
Yeah.
And that puts a curse on their house. But once again, it's never explained.
They killed Irish Finkel.
Yeah. How could they? He was the one Boston Public character I loved.
That was funny. I didn't even see him because he has such a huge beard in this.
Yeah, the only thing I saw him. I saw his name.
Yeah, I did not see that. I just heard his voice, like Irish Finkel.
Yeah, Irish Finkel. Once again, nothing is answered. Nothing is certain. Irish Finkel may or may not have been a demon.
That was I was going to ask you. Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, but once again, I think the point of that scene is you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It sets the mood for a story that may or may not be a religious story.
Yeah.
And that's once again just like with O Brother Where Art Thou, the Coen brothers do this pretty much perfectly. Just a very subtle but still always present force of whatever. Whether you believe in Judeo-Christian God or if it's some other kind of force doesn't really matter. But it's just the thing that they do this very nicely, and of course, as always, the Coen brothers are great at writing minor characters who are in the film for like one scene and then never mentioned again and still leave such a strong impression. Like in this case, the rabbis, which all three are really, really funny, especially the middle one, the one who never...
Wait, does he even get to speak to the last one?
No, that's what makes him funny. And of course, what's his name? The guy who steals his wife. Sid.
Yes. Oh God, I don't remember what his last name is.
Yeah, who's this? He's this douchebag basically who steals the main character's wife, and while the three of them meet, he's always so overly diplomatic, and
you just want to reach. Even though I'm not as enthusiastic about this film as you are,
no,
but even I wanted to just take my fist through the screen and punch this bastard in the face.
Yeah, and that's and these people, except for the main characters, these people are maybe in like 3 scenes each.
Cy Abelman.
Abelman, yeah. I can't believe I forgot that name. That was the most memorable name.
He has a good name.
Oh, Larry Gopnik. That was the name of the main character. The starting
exactly.
Yeah. And once again, you barely see most of these characters for more than a couple of scenes. Also, the Asian kid who tries to bribe Larry because he got an F on his physics tests.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, once again, you see him 2 or 3 times, but they leave such a strong impression, and that's about all I have to say about it. Really, it's the Coens doing what the Coens do best: comedies.
I honestly think the ending is the best part of the entire film.
Yeah.
Without saying anything, that ending is perfect. It perfectly encompasses the stronger qualities of the film.
Yeah.
And I do also like just the fact that since it's an independent movie. I like the fact that it's always refreshing to see a film that has no familiar faces, really.
Yeah, except Irish Finkel.
Yeah,
and the guy from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, exactly. Simon Hedberg. But I mean, main characters.
Yeah.
Our main characters are people you've never seen, pretty much.
This one, wasn't he in the guy who plays his brother? Wasn't he in Mad About You?
He's played by Paul from Spin City.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, but he's in Spin City, the TV show. So
yeah,
he has also been in stuff, but there are no major actors.
Yeah.
This is not A Serious Man starring George Clooney or Matt Damon.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is definitely or like with the kids being played by these other No, this film has...
Yeah, and that's why you feel that you're watching characters and not actors.
Exactly, you're watching relatable characters, not stars playing actors.
That's one of the problems with Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
That's one of the problems with all films.
Yeah, but if we're... I'm tying these two together.
It's George Clooney.
You see John Goodman punching George Clooney with a branch. You don't see the characters doing this, but yeah, definitely a good point.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna check how much time is left before we
because we
reveal.
have one more film to cover.
What?
We have one more movie to cover.
It's 6 minutes, so
we should be able to do it in that.
What?
We should be able to do it quickly. Or
yeah, I think. Okay, if it may interrupt us in the mid-sentence, but that's good. It makes us feel realistic. Okay, give it away.
Last film.
Yeah.
A film we both felt very strongly about, felt like needed to be like an honorable mention.
Yeah.
And tying back to George Clooney. Wes Anderson, who has been on this list and talks a lot this list. Wes Anderson went stop motion and made the Roald Dahl book Fantastic Mr. Fox into a movie.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most interesting animated films in recent memory, actually.
Yeah, first of all, because he's going back to stop motion, which makes The Nightmare Before Christmas look like latest CGI. It's that.
Yeah, the thing is,
it's very stylistic.
Foxes.
Yeah.
They have hair, and the hair, they don't even bother to really make sure that all the hair fits.
No.
You see the hairs move around a little bit, and you know what? I fucking love that. Just a little detail is stupid and imperfect for the film.
Yeah, but once again, the thing I hate about CGI is that you're watching it and you're watching computer-generated
perfection.
Yeah, perfection.
Yeah.
This thing, you're watching things. You're watching something that actually is happening.
Yeah, and somehow it has a more weighted feel to it.
Yeah.
Like again, they use the color palette is really interesting too in this film because.
Once again, Wes Anderson loves yellow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say yellow and yellow and orange and red. Like basically all the backgrounds in this movie, like all the sun is never blue, is it? Or it might be, but it's often like sundown or sunrise, just so they can have yellow backgrounds and yellow suns. But basically, this film is a quirky Wes Anderson movie made into an animated film.
Yeah, but a couple of things worth mentioning, apart from the fact that it's typical Wes Anderson, because Royal Tenenbaums was just typical Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Every single Wes Anderson cliche was there. But here, first of all, this is very interesting as an adaptation. My problem with a lot of adaptations from books is that they don't come with any new ideas. They don't have their own vision.
No, this definitely.
Yeah. The book is like a half an hour in the middle of the film.
Yeah.
The rest is just him playing around with the idea.
Yeah, he went to live with Roald Dahl's widow to get inspiration for the movie.
Yeah.
And I think she pretty much, he told her what he was doing, and I think she even said that sounds great.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, man. Because since the book it's made for young people, young kids.
Yeah.
They really made it into something different, and I love that.
And also, once again, typical Wes Anderson style, jokes that seem to come out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly and never get mentioned again. And there's two scenes that I have to point out. Once again, I'm gonna try not saying exactly what happens in them because, try to avoid the spoilers a little bit. But the first part is that one of the characters who worked for the bad guys and finally redeems himself by helping the main characters. You know what scene? Yeah. And the second part is when Mr. Fox has to confront his worst fear right by the end.
That scene has no importance in the narrative at all, but it's my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Yeah, both these are my favorite scenes because they're really strange. They're pretty funny because they're so random. They lead nowhere, never get mentioned again, and I got sad. Those were the most emotional moments.
Yeah, as I said, I think my favorite, the last one scene, which is one of the third or fourth last scene in the film, is my favorite scene, along with probably the last scene.
Yeah. I didn't feel so strongly about the absolute last scene.
I love the tune. I have that tune. I listen to that tune all the time. But yeah, just a fantastic film. It's very unique, and it feels so good because it feels like a movie that technically should have been made in the 70s, made in the 2000s, and that makes it so good.
Yeah, not just the animation style, but also the way you dress, the Manchester costumes and...
everything from the narrative qualities, everything.
What's happening?
Turn it off!
Yeah, wait, it's still
yeah, it's recording for half of
let's try. Is there anything more to say? You'll be back with some own reviews?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And we'll do the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. The 90s and the 80s, we'll do the 80s, and then, as we discussed, probably the 70s, a couple of favorite picks.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Bye.
Thank you.